Hey everybody, my name is Diggie and today we're going to be doing a little bit of cooking. I realized recently that while I do enjoy to cook as a hobby, constantly explaining the recipes and talking to people about it on a one-to-one basis wasn't exactly the most efficient use of my time. So, realizing that the internet existed, I decided to make some videos. So hopefully this is the first in a long series of videos chronicling all the recipes that I love to make in my Instant Pot. I'll show you. There we go, that bad boy. Over time, it has saved me a lot of time and money, and I want to help some other people figure out how to do that for themselves and stay well fed while their bodies lose weight and their bank accounts gain it. Before we start cooking the actual meal, which is going to be what I call PBR, because there's pork, beef, and rice in there, and that was the most clever name I could come up with. Also, I'm a big fan of PBR, the beer. We are going to cut up some. First thing we have to do is prep the garlic, because that's going to get sauteed along with the onion, and that'll be the beginning of our dish. So I took a big clove of garlic, busted it up, or a big head of garlic, busted it up into a bunch of cloves. I don't have an exact number that I like to use. This is 8, as long as it meets the criteria of a lot. I'm usually pretty okay. There's a lot of different ways to prepare garlic, and I learned recently you're actually going to get a different flavor and different presence in your dish based off of how you put them in. If you put them in whole, it's going to be kind of a sweeter, more robust flavor. If you put them in sliced, it's going to be similar to minced, but it's going to be a little bit more detectable of a flavor, whereas if you put them in minced, it's just going to give you that strong garlic punch that a lot of people like and a lot of people are used to. But it's important to know that the difference in how you prepare your garlic and how you install it in your dish is going to lead to a different flavor profile. That list is by no means definitive, but for the purposes here, and honestly for the purposes of anything I cook, those 3 ways are the only ways that I approach getting garlic into my meal. The important thing here we can all agree on is that garlic is in the meal, which my only prerequisite. So we're just smashing down right on top of it. What that does is it pulls it out of the, people call it paper, but that doesn't sound right to me. Whatever the skin or the flesh is, get that out of there, because that is not fun to eat. When you smash down on top of it, I know they sell some devices for rolling your garlic, but I'm kind of the Alton Brown school of thought. The less nonsense I have in my kitchen drawers, the better, you know? I'd rather have a few devices that do a whole lot of different things than have a bunch of specific things. But that's just my taste. Simplicity in the kitchen is key. I like to walk into a clean kitchen and walk out of a clean kitchen. And that makes it all that much more enjoyable when you don't have a pile of dishes to do or a bunch of gadgets to wrangle. Alright, so we almost got these peeled. One more to go. I'm smashing down on them with just pressure because I don't want a big bang to come over the video. But if no one was watching, I would smack them real hard with my knife. And if you're using a meat cleaver, it's even more fun because those are nice and hefty. Alright, so now we have all that garlic meat, and this time I'm going to slice it on up because I want it to spread throughout the dish. There are a couple of dishes where I just put them in whole, and that is honestly, it's my favorite way to eat them because it makes them taste kind of roasted, which if you've ever had pizza with roasted garlic on it, you know there's a reason it's a thing. It's because it's tasty. Alright, watching the fingers, and we're good to go. Got our garlic prep, set that off to the side. Alright, now moving on to the onion, because those 2 things are going to get sauteed in some olive oil. I'm going to slice down that side of the onion, slice down the other side, and we're going to remove that outer. I like to go not just the outer paper, but also the layer right underneath it. This doesn't call for more than a medium onion, so this is pretty much good to go. And then every single time I cut an onion, I cut it the same way. Unless it's specifically, if I'm making onion rings or something, I cut them. Hopefully you guys can see that without too much glare. There we go. So if I'm trying to make onion rings, you know, I'll cut them down this direction, but 9 times out of 10, I'm going to be cutting it like this. So you just cut it right down the middle, and then you're going to cut almost through the entire onion. And I'm sure you've seen an example of this 100 times, but as you can see, the onion there is cut till the end where it's not. And that's going to make it so as we slice it like this, always keeping those fingers safe and curled, because I like my fingers. It's going to leave us with some chopped onion. Not quite a mince, but nice and chopped and ready to go into our dish. So it's a time saver. I like it. I figure might as well do it one way over and over and over again, as opposed to try to do it a different way each time. Onion's an onion, and if I'm cooking in the Instant Pot, it's going to be practically mush anyway by the time, you know, we're just putting it in there just for flavor. So let's do that again. And it takes a little bit of time to get used to, but practice makes perfect. If you mess up and actually accidentally chop part of it off, just Lego it back together, you're good to go. If some people have a bigger trouble with cutting onions because of the tears and stuff, but I'm definitely in touch with my sensitive side, so a little bit of crying never hurt anybody. Alright, so we got our garlic and onions ready. Now we're going to saute them in the Instant Pot with a little bit of olive oil. Pop that open. Check for if anybody else used it and left it dirty. Looks like whoever used it last cleaned it, so we're going to hit the saute button. And that has an auto timer for 30 minutes. I put in a little bit of olive oil. And honestly, with the exclusion of the pressurized system in there, this thing works a lot like a rice cooker does. There's a filament down at the bottom that just attaches to the bottom of this bowl. And that transfers heat. Only when you close it, is it gonna pressurize the system and cook your food at a lot higher temperature than boiling. Alright, we got our garlic and onion sauteing in there just nice. We're going to keep an eye on that to make sure it doesn't burn. In the meantime, we have our washed pork, and we're going to take this down into some cubes. So let's do that. Alright, hopefully the sauteing noise in the background isn't going to mess with the audio too badly, but we're going to calm it down in just a second. You're cutting off about 1-inch strips, cutting those into 3 strips, and then doing the same thing lengthwise. I like to take these as I cut them up and put them straight into the pot. Give that a stir. So it can give that sauteing heat something other to do than burning your garlic and your onion. So again, take that into thirds. Cutting them lengthwise. Keep that going. You want, it's a good rule of thumb to have a uniform cutting size because that's generally going to keep everything cooking at the same time. That being said, the unique thing about the Instant Pot is that while that's still important, everything's going to be cooking at about 258 degrees. So whatever you're asking it to get done, it's going to get done regardless. Almost done cutting the pork. I know every cooking show you ever watch, people always say, be careful for your fingers. Getting in the habit of putting them like that on whatever you're cutting, so that even if I'm sawing down like that, there's really no way that I'm gonna, at the worst, I'm gonna lose a knuckle, and that's pretty much pork anyway, so you just add to the dish. But I don't want to lose a fingertip, because we use those for texting and stuff. Once you get down near the end, you can just cut them into 2 pieces. As long as you're getting relatively the same size on all those other things. Same size as all the other bits in there. You're good to go. And the last little guy, lots of fat on there. It's a good thing. The glare's a little crazy. Have to work on that for the next video. Alright, now we got our pork incorporated. I'll let that whiten up a little bit. Next we're going to add baby carrots. I like to just put in the whole bag because I love baby carrots, especially when they're cooked until they're super soft. Alright. The whole bag in there. Give that a stir. Now we can move on to the ground beef. Good thing about ground beef is that it's already ground, so you don't need to cut it. Just pop it open like so. And then check the hands for any random bits of plastic. And then you can just walk it on over. Gotcha. Okay, that's going to need a stir, kind of incorporate it all in. Let me make that happen. Alright guys, we still got that saute in there. We went ahead and added half a stick of butter. I like to put in the beef broth straight away so the sauteing goes from sauteing to starting to heat the liquid out. That'll help the Instant Pot pressurize quicker once we get the top on and get it started. Plus it'll stop that annoying hissing sound. So ideally you should be able to fit these 4 cups of beef broth in there. We'll just go with 3 because it's already getting kind of full. I keep my rice in a carafe. Not to be hip or anything, it's just an easy rice delivery method. Alright, just go ahead and dust that all around the top. It's going to get stirred in. The ground beef, the rice, and the pork all come together with a really good texture that I can't seem to stop eating. Alright, just try to stir this while I got you guys filming. And last time, or the first time I made this, I, on a whim, just decided to try the rice setting because it was considered it a rice dish, and I wanted to see if the rice setting would cook all the meat in there. not only did it cook it exactly how I wanted it, but the rice was done perfectly, and that's actually still the method I use today. So we'll take the lid here, pop that on. So we're on the saute mode right now. We'll go off, then click the rice setting, which I believe is 12 minutes. Yep. So the way this is going to work is the already hot liquid inside of there is going to continue to heat up, and once it gets nice and hot, there we go, we got it on. Once it gets nice and hot, it's going to come up to pressure, and the pressurized system is going to allow it to cook at a heat hotter than the boiling point, because there's nowhere for that extra energy to go. So once that comes up to pressure, this tiny little pin is going to go zip and pop up to the top. This little guy, we turn it to sealing. I don't know if you can see that, but it says sealing on there, and good to go. So now that all that's in there, I'm probably going to go play video games and come back and take it out whenever I like it. All right, thanks guys.